Yo, how is everybody doing? Welcome back to the Opinionated Idiot YouTube channel live show. And by the power of the internet, our curious minds come together. It's Tuesday, March 28th, 2023. This is the Opinionated Idiot live show. And I'm your host, Brian. And all I want you to do is sit back, plug in, smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't, turn on bell notifications, hit that bell, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, and have fun. How's everybody doing this evening? I am so glad to see all of you come back. Look, we are doing our first Serial Killer Tuesday. Yes, we are looking back at infamous serial killers, going back, discussing the case, and having some conversation about it. You guys asked for it, so we're going to try it. We'll see how this series and how my series on Thursdays will go, because you can't do Kohberger all the time. It ain't going to happen on this channel. Sunday nights is Kohberger talk. Sunday nights is free form. So get used to the program. That's the way it is. That's the way it's going to be, because after that case is over, we got to move on to something else. But we can take a look back tonight. Before I get to the chat this evening, I just want to take a quick moment, and recognize something that unfortunately happened yesterday in our great country. And I want to take a moment of silence for the victims of yesterday's school shooting in Nashville, Tennessee, and give thanks to the hero first responders that didn't hesitate to enter that building to neutralize this shooter in the name of public safety in under 15 minutes. So let's take that quick moment. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that moment. We move on with the show. I'm not going to get into the politics of it, because I know what YouTube is doing right now on that. And you guys are smart enough to figure it out on your own. But I'm going to tell you, we got a lot of things going on in this country that need to be fixed. A lot of things. And you can take that in whatever way that you think. But you know what? Actually, I'll share a little bit. What we are doing to our young people in this country right now is not good. I'm going to leave it at that. All right, guys, let's see who's in the chat. Amber's here. Amber, how are you? Dr. Bob is here. Thank you for joining. MRG is here. Good to see you. And Chosen Rosen is here as well. Thank you, my dude, for showing up. And the show, listen, man, you can't do it all the time. You can't do Kohberger. We're going to say we got some stuff on Sunday we'll talk about. We got some stuff on Sunday. Boomer Girls checking in. Said, hi, Brian. Hope you're having a great evening. Much love from North Carolina. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Guys, do me a favor. As you come in, just smash that like button. All right, so we're going to talk Ted Bundy this evening. We're going to get into it. I got a lot of video to pull up. I got a lot of things to talk about. But let me throw on my earplugs here. And first of all, real quick, and I was alerted to this today, and I just want to let everybody know that might be watching live or watch the replay. Let me just do this real quick. Let me take care of some channel business. First, one thing I want to get out there into the ether with everybody here that's a subscriber to the channel. There is a huge issue where YouTube is not notifying subscribers, and that could be in notification settings, or they're just not doing it and they're shadow banning channels. Now, I've heard this, not only mine, I've heard this on a lot of channels across the spectrum in YouTube. What I first want to make sure that everybody understands is that I use the community tab on my page. I'm going to show you what that looks like. If you go to my homepage and you click the community tab here, I communicate fully through there at all times. So you can get all of my recent news there. If not, if you go to my Facebook group and you join up on the Facebook group, I communicate there as well. That's two ways you will know. Also, you can always rely on this. I stream, as you guys know, I stream Sunday, Tuesday, Thursdays, 8 p.m., 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm always streaming on those times. Always going to be live. Always going to be an hour and a half to a 2-hour live show. Or we go longer if you guys want to sit here. That's fine. We can go longer. So just wanted to let you know that. Also, I have now set up a P.O. box. So if anybody wants to send any mail to the channel, I will give you the address. The address to the channel, if anybody's wondering, it is that. You can send mail to the channel if you want to, by all means. Autograph inquiries, glasses for me to wear, whatever you want. Send it in. We'll read it live on air, whatever you want to do. But the address is there if you want to communicate that way as well. Okay, so we're going to talk Ted Bundy this evening. Yeah, a lot of people showing up in the chat. A little Messy's here. How are you? I got Crazy P in the house. And the chat will build. All right, Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy was a infamous or notorious American serial killer who committed a series of murders and sexual assaults in the 1970s. He was born on November 24th, 1946 in Burlington, Vermont. I actually lived in Vermont for about 2 years in my younger days and grew up in a middle-class family. Bundy was known for his good looks, charm, intelligent, which he used to lure his victims. Over the course of several years, Bundy killed at least 30 women in 7 different states, although the actual numbers of victims is believed to be higher. He would often target young women with long, dark hair and would approach them in public places, such as at college campuses or shopping malls. He would then lure them to a secluded area, attack them, sometimes raping and killing them. Bundy was eventually caught and put on trial, where he was convicted of multiple counts of murder and sentenced to death. He famously represented himself in court, and we will see some of that footage tonight. To be honest with you, I went over it and is incredibly interesting. It's incredibly horrifying to see him represent himself and the way that he conducted himself in court. Also, and he was known for his charisma and manipulation tactics, even while attempting to escape prison twice. Bundy's case received widespread media attention, and due to the part of his good looks and charming demeanor, which he made difficult for some to believe that he could have been capable of such crimes. And then he was executed in the electric chair in Florida on January 24th, 1989. 1989. So let's do this first. Let's pull this video up here. It's a brief video on who was Ted Bundy.
My name is Ted Bundy. I've never spoken to anybody about this.
30 years after he was executed, notorious serial killer Ted Bundy is having his story retold in documentaries and crime series this year. The Netflix original Conversations with a Killer, the Ted Bundy tapes, uses video and audio recordings of interviews with Bundy to get inside his mind.
I mean, I'm just a normal individual.
So who was he, and why are true crime fans still fascinated with him decades later?
Ted Bundy killed more people in more states than anyone we've ever heard of.
He was born Theodore Robert Cowell in 1946 to an unwed mother and was partially raised by his grandparents. He moved around the country as a child, eventually landing in Washington state, where his mother married a man named John Bundy. Biographers say he was bright and charismatic. His good looks and charm helped him gain acceptance into political circles.
He could be the guy next door, your fiance, your husband, your boyfriend, your lover. And then that evening, by his own determination, at his own discretion, transform himself.
The level of control of this man is horrifying, knowing what he did, and that level of comfort, going back and watching his interviews and his confidence and his swagger is horrifying. The level, it's crazy. I mean, it's
Perhaps the most diabolical killer
it's
we've ever
scary.
known.
He enrolled in law school in 1973, but by the following year seemed to lose interest and
narcissism.
dropped out.
100%.
While authorities don't know when
100%.
Bundy first started to kill, the earliest crimes they were able to link to him were in Washington state in 1974. A college student was badly beaten and sexually assaulted in her basement apartment. And after that, young women in the state started disappearing every month until the summer. Around that time, Bundy moved to Utah, where authorities say his killing spree continued.
The cute driver leaned over and rolled down the passenger window and asked me if I'd like a ride.
Rhonda Stapley claims she encountered Bundy one night while she was waiting for a bus. She says he offered her a ride and she accepted.
I thought that he was going to kiss me. Instead, he said very quietly, "Do you know what? I'm going to kill you."
Stapley claims he drove her to a remote area where he tried to strangle her, but she escaped. Many other victims weren't so lucky. Bundy admitted to killing at least 30 women, abducting, raping, and strangling them. He also revisited his crimes by going back to view the corpses he left behind, or bringing them home and continuing to assault them.
It's strange, it's funny, and I always say this with the serial killers. Look at their eyes and their face, and that's why I look at Brian Koberger. I look at the eyes and the face, and it's funny. The new thumbnail that I just put up, and I want you guys to take a look at it after the show for the Sunday show. You can go in there and click on it. Look at the thumbnail I did. I superimposed Bundy's face over Koberger, and it almost perfectly matched up to the eyes. It's scary. And this guy has the same eyes as Koberger. And I just see a little, I'm not saying a lot of similarities, but I do see a little bit of similarities in Bundy and Koberger. The narcissism, in my opinion, the eyes, the demeanor, that stare, so something to think about, just something to think about.
Them, sometimes sexually. Deborah Jean Kent went missing from her high school in Utah in 1974.
I sat in the police station listening to his voice and listening to that horrible tape of him saying that he had followed my sister from the auditorium or whatever it was, and that is the first time I'd ever felt anger and hate, and I was physically ill.
Bundy was arrested in Utah in 1975 after being placed under surveillance for suspicious activity. He was arrested and convicted of kidnapping and assault of one victim. He escaped custody, but was recaptured in Colorado. He escaped once again in 1977 and made his way to Florida, where investigators say he claimed 6 more lives. Once again, it was a traffic violation that brought him down.
Gee, traffic violation. Sounds kind of familiar with a case that we're following lately, huh? Let me recognize this. We got a $2 super chat from Chosen Rosen that says, remember to hit that like button. Let's give him a bell on that one. And also, like always,
Straight cash, homie.
Straight cash, homie. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Straight
He was put on trial in which he quickly defended himself. Bundy was convicted of murder, but that didn't stop him from trying to carry on with his life.
Will you marry me? Yes. And I do hereby marry you. Thank you.
Bundy proposed to
Sicko.
Carol Ann Boone in court during the sentencing phase of his trial. They dated before his initial arrest, and when she had a daughter in 1982, with Bundy behind bars, she named him as the father.
It doesn't, and I'm telling you, you're going to be shocked when BK wants to represent himself or be part of his defense team, why he's spending so much time in the library, huh? You know what, Amber? I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. Yes, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, and he was the one that faked injuries with a broken arm that he had a cast, and he also his VW bug. He manipulated the door inside the bug so victims could not get out. So once they were locked in, they could not get out. And I want to say that he actually took out the passenger seat. I don't think that his VW bug had a passenger seat. Let's see if we can find a picture of it. I think he took that out. Let's see. Wow, they actually have that is crazy. The Bundy, let's stop this video for a second. Well, actually, let's play through this and then let me finish the video. And then I want to show you guys something really crazy. It's nuts. I didn't even know this. Hang on.
But the defiant move didn't sway a judge who handed down a death sentence in this case.
It is further ordered that on such schedule
Yes,
you
you're
be
right,
put to death
Christine.
by a current of electricity sufficient to cause you immediate death.
The punishment has done little to comfort the families he devastated. The mother of victim Denise Naslund says her daughter's murder ruined her life.
I developed agoraphobia, and I don't go out.
Agoraphobia, if anybody doesn't know, is a fear of going out in public or a fear of being around people. There's actually a really great movie with Sigourney Weaver called Copycat. If you haven't seen that, I think it's a late 90s movie. And she actually gets chased down by a guy that's doing copycat kills of infamous serial killers. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I'm going to show the final interview, and I'm going to show the interview when he was caught in 1977 in Colorado. So we'll watch through that. Audio here. That is probably a commercial.
Out anymore in this house 24 hours a day. It's like dying. I just think of how things were before Ted Bundy came into our lives. Nothing's the same anymore.
While he confessed to many crimes, investigators say he recanted many statements and couldn't be trusted to tell the truth. Ted Bundy was executed by electric chair in Florida on January 24, 1989, at age 42, taking his secrets with him about the full and true extent of his reign of terror.
And as you can see, Gwyneth Paltrow is having her own issues too in court with her ski accident. But I wanted to, I was trying to, hang on a second. I was trying to figure out, let me pull this up really quick. This is crazy. I didn't even know they had this. Let me bring out Hell on Wheels, they call it. I didn't even know this. I didn't even know that this Hell on Wheels, the history of Ted Bundy's VW, they have it on display. This is crazy. Look at the handcuff ropes. Ah, what a brilliant touch. When Ted Bundy was working as a crisis hotline volunteer in Seattle while attending the University of Washington. Wow, that's crazy. in the early 70s, he would sometimes get a ride home from a coworker. Sometime later, that coworker's future true crime author Ann Rule found it odd that descriptions of the serial killer haunting the Washington area seemed to match Bundy's height and features. Hang on one second here. Gee, kind of weird, huh? University of Washington. I don't know. Kind of sounds like someone we've been talking about. I just want to read about what he actually did to the car. There's nothing inherently evil about the Volkswagen Beetle, a compact German car first introduced in 1938 and became extremely... I tell you, these websites have the most garbage pop-ups on them. You can't even read an article anymore. There's a pop-up down in the right corner. There's a pop-up here. There's finish line crap. It's like you can't even get through an article now with 9 million things popping up in your face. Holy smokes. I want to see what he did to it. Bundy purchased the vehicle used in it's the level of these ads are crazy. And was driving for a duration of his murder spree across Colorado, Washington, and Utah in 1974 and 1975. And he was believed to have averaged one murder per month. Witnesses who saw victims enter the car told police about it, and who began scanning roadways for the tan VW that may have been harboring the killer. Being a passenger in Bundy's Volkswagen often involved being only semi-conscious, handcuffed to the car's frame, and remaining prone on the car's floor so passerby wouldn't be able to see the dazed and distressed victim inside. Bundy had also removed the inside door handle so it couldn't be opened from within. Some victims were strangled while still in the vehicle, others dragged out in front of the car's headlights so Bundy could better see what he was doing. In Bundy's hands, the car was a versatile tool. It provided false sense of comfort, shelter, interruption, and theatrical staging. Wow. Unreal. But pretty crazy stuff. I just wanted to pull up a picture of the car. Crazy, 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 crazy. Okay, so what do you got? I want to pull up the interview from 1979 Glenwood Springs, Colorado jail. And the level of narcissism here is unbelievable. And you can even just see it right now. Look at the body language already. All right, let's play this. I'm going to rewind it, and we'll play through some of this. I'm not going to play all of it, but we'll get through some of it here.
We should tell you, we got to wear jeans and blue shirts.
And you're going to get even just seeing it right here, that using that charisma, with this young lady in the room, this reporter or interviewer, and, he's just already trying to charm her. It's truly interesting and horrifying at the same time.
Is your family been up to see you?
Not as yet. It's a rather expensive trip.
Yeah.
It's been in Aspen. It's an expensive place to stay.
Your mom's still up in Washington?
Yeah, we started.
Pardon?
I plan to have her down here sometime in June.
Look at the stare.
First of all, I guess I should just ask, how are you doing up here?
It's a short question deserving a long answer. I'm doing well. I feel good. Working hard on my case. Need a lot more sun and a lot more fresh air, but other than that, I'm doing okay.
Do you get fresh air, sun? Do you get out?
Well, I get to go to the library. It's a 50-yard walk from here across this across the parking lot to the library. That's my fresh air.
Do you have more freedom at Utah State Prison?
Well, when I was on the main line, as they say, in medium security, I had a lot more freedom. You bet. Big yard to walk in, and basketball court and handball court. You know, your standard medium security life in a prison is a fairly decent existence, relatively speaking, to a county jail. County jails are by and large pretty confined and inhibiting sort of places.
Why did you decide to defend yourself?
I began thinking about that way
To put his narcissism out there.
back in Utah. I had a year to study criminal law in action, and I have a lot of strong, I'm a very biased person, and I have a lot of strong opinions about how things should be done. And when I came here, I think that my opinions were established at the point where the method that my attorneys wished to impose here and my own did not agree, and we couldn't coexist. And theirs were right for them, and mine are going to be right for me. I have the greatest amount of confidence that, at least in the preparation stage, that my ideas will work. And believe me, I'm not standing here alone. I'm just called a half a dozen attorney friends of mine today. Every day I get input. Every day I ask questions. But the reason I went on my own is because I just felt it was time. I felt it was right. I wanted to get involved. I wanted to become a part of my defense because I am such a part of it. I mean, obviously, I'm going to bear the consequences, so why not bear the responsibility of seeking my own acquittal and sustaining my own innocence.
Ted, when you left Salt Lake, when you were extradited, you issued a statement saying you feel that everything will turn out all right, that you are innocent. Do you still feel that?
Yeah, more than ever. Of course, you can't help but become an advocate for yourself when you're so involved in the case. And being a good defense attorney, and I'm not pretending I'm an attorney, but
It's like cat and mouse with him, and you can see, he can manipulate those expressions on his face and be very charismatic when he needs to be. But also, in my terrible snap, can just switch on the drop of a dime.
But putting yourself in a position of being your own counsel, it's that positive psychology. You're going to do it. You're going to do it because you're right. You're going to do it because the person you're representing is innocent. It just happens to be, in this case, I've got a lot of stake, and the person I'm representing is myself, and I'm working all the harder. Yeah, I feel good about it, and yes, I feel that I'm right, and yes, I feel I'm going to make it. No doubt in my mind.
There's always one thing that amazed me. As you know, I covered your trial, and I was there every day. When the judge found you guilty of second-degree kidnapping, you never showed any emotion.
Yeah.
For somebody who believes he is so innocent, why was there no emotion?
My attorney, John O'Connell in Salt Lake, and I've always mused over just how I should behave. What's the right way for Ted Bundy to behave and make sure that people get the right impression? And I just behaved the way I felt was right. Okay, let me take the day of March 1st, 1976, the day that the judge rendered his verdict in my case first. I didn't show any emotion because, what am I supposed to do? Am I going to jump up on the table? Am I going to scream? That's what I felt like doing. I heard my mother crying. It's an emotional time. I don't even like to think of that day. But I wasn't going to give these people who went out and built a case around a non-existent eyewitness, an eyewitness identification was built by the police. I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of seeing me break down. And
I just want to go back up here to this chat. Hang on one second. Mama Styles says, Hyperbole, he's not as smart as he thinks he is. Ted Bundy had a IQ of 136. 136. That's pretty damn high. 136. Average IQ is around 95 to 105. So he's just above average. And then some of the brightest or smartest serial killers had IQs over 200.
Sure, I mean, and I'm showing emotion right now because inside
IQ's
But
130.
I kept it together because there's no point in destroying myself. I have got to
He
keep
was very
myself
smart.
together. I have got to stay calm. I've got to keep my presence of mind because as long as I do that,
Master
I'm
manipulator.
going to beat these people. And that's the way I feel. I showed no emotion. I felt emotion, believe me. Now, the irony comes here. When Carol DeRoche, the kidnapping victim from Utah, came to testify in this preliminary hearing here, I was beside myself with rage. She is turning into a professional witness as far as I'm concerned. She is a prosecution witness. And when I heard her go through that routine that I had heard 3 times before, I had restrained myself every time. I couldn't do it this time. And I told my attorney, I said, I'm going to get up. And I got up and I pointed at the judge and I pointed at her and I said, she's lying. She's lied 3 times before and she's lying now. And I felt it. And he pulled me down and he says, listen, he says, you can't do that. And I said, okay, but I had to do it for once. For once I had to do it. And do you know something? People say Ted Bundy didn't show any emotion. There must be something in that. I showed emotion. You know what people said? See, you really can get violent and angry. There's no right way for me to act. I act, and I don't care what people think about how I act. I act according to the way I think is right and best for me at the time. And I'm not going to try to please people or impress people because, quite frankly, the amount of bias and prejudice that surrounds me as a media image, I can't begin.
Yeah, IQ testing is much more intricate. There's actually I believe a paper test. I did it many years ago when I was in my 20s, and it was like a 2-day test that I went through, course for like IQ and ADHD and all this other stuff. So I definitely know it's a paper test. It's like an exam.
Begin to tear down. Not with this interview or 100 interviews.
Ted, do you believe, I'm a person from the media, other people here, do you believe that we created you, that it's our fault, that we created this image of the mass murder? Is that what you're saying to us?
Well, I think in the course of doing your job, you did. Not in a malign way, not in a personal vendetta against me, but in the course of publishing the material and broadcasting the material coming out of the Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office or the Salt Lake County Prosecutor's Office, you began to plant the seed in people's minds. Now, that may be your constitutional right and duty as well as, your livelihood. But I think in the process, you did create a media image of me that's far beyond, the reality of me.
As John O'Connell called the Bundy monster?
That's what he called it. I suggested to John we ought to get Mattel to make little dolls that walk and say, I am the Bundy monster.
Ted, let me ask you this. You totally believe you're innocent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not questioning that. My question to you is,
I agree.
how did it come to be that Ted Bundy...
You're seeing narcissism on a fucking scale right now that's through the roof.
could be involved in some of these things and has now been charged, convicted once, is now facing first-degree murder charges. And as you know, is being suspected in other murders. How did Ted Bundy come out? Where did he come from?
That's a very long story, and I can't. If I knew the answers to that question, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I'd be back in Salt Lake with a new trial, and one day I'll have those answers, and one day I'll have a new trial. Okay, but I don't know why. Okay, I can't begin to understand why. I know that there's a lot of police ego on the line. I know that a lot of men in the detectives division in Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office jobs are on the line. I know that it's a long time ago it ceased to be an issue as whether or not I was innocent or guilty. The issue is now is can we pin it on it? Can we follow through and maintain our reputation as law enforcement officers? And I'll tell you, as long as they attempt to keep their heads in the sand about me, there's going to be people turning up in canyons, and there are going to be people being shot in Salt Lake City because the police there aren't willing to accept what I think they know, and they know.
Lots of deflection here. Lots of deflection. Ton. I mean, the narcissism is just pouring on right now.
Know that I didn't do these things. And,
Okay, then how do you exist every day? How do you keep your sanity?
well,
Or are you keeping your sanity? You're a young man, you're intelligent, obviously. How do you stay in that little cell and
Yep,
stay
you're
sane?
right.
they gave me a year's training course in that from March 1st of 76 until I was extradited to Colorado. I was locked up. I had a lot of time to work on being locked up. It wasn't easy at first, but now it's easy. I mean, they made me hard inside, and I can spend time in there. I don't like it. I'll never like it, and I'll never accept it. But I can deal with it because I know how to, let's say,
Have you trained your mind?
train the mind. That's the word I was going to use. It's not exactly training your mind. It's just creating your own environment in here. Okay? And not looking at the ceiling.
Well, let me ask, mostly my viewers are women. Let me ask you this. If you didn't know what this guy did, and let's say you were in a bar somewhere and he came up and sat next to you and was conversating like this, you probably would be pretty attracted to him. You'd probably say, wow, this is a very well-mannered, nice guy. I mean, because you don't know anything about him, and you probably would carry on with a conversation. Am I right? Let me know down there in the chat. If you were a single woman at a bar and this gentleman came up and started to talk to you, well, I wouldn't say gentleman, but I'm just putting in context, not knowing what he did, would you have a conversation with him? You probably would. The thing that's really weird about this too is March 17th is my birthday, and a year later was actually when I was born. So that's really strange.
Not looking at the wall and not thinking about the outside and not anguishing over the fact that you've lost your freedom, but simply in here, simply knowing that some free because.
Oh, we got some old film. I can't help that. Let's see.
Okay, let's do it. Let's pick it up here more.
All right.
Okay. How does this compare to the Utah State Prison?
It's a good deal smaller. I couldn't give you any exact figures, but I suppose if I was in medium security and at Utah State Prison, you'd have several acres to roam around in, all the blocks, the gymnasium, industries area, and whatnot. Even in maximum security, we got to go outside, go to the weight room.
What time do you get up?
6:30.
Exercise?
I walk about 2 miles a day.
Inside?
880 laps.
I haven't been following your case that closely, but you'll have to agree you're the target of a great deal of mystery, and you said earlier macabre interest.
Yeah, Christine, there's actually, and I can't play it, and I was going to play the clip. There's a clip on Joe Rogan, and I can't remember the guy that was on there, but he talked about, it was like a friend of his mother, and I think it's this situation that you're talking about, this particular situation, but you guys can go over, if you just Google like Joe Rogan, Ted Bundy, there's a guy that was on his show that talks about this particular situation that Christine is bringing up, and it's a fascinating segment that's on in there. So you can just like hit Joe Rogan, Ted Bundy, and you can hear it. I can't play. Unfortunately, I can't play Rogan because he's protected, and every time I play any of his clips, they take the live stream down. So
you'll have to admit there's a hell of a lot of circumstantial evidence, at least circumstantial. It seems to somebody who has simply read newspapers and articles.
No, I won't admit that. No, there's I don't call it. It's not circumstantial as far as I'm concerned. I don't really know exactly.
No problem, Victorine.
Really
no problem.
Discuss it. But I don't care what anybody says or the suspicions anyone harbors on the basis of that misinformation. And indeed, that's what I call it: circumstantial information, perhaps, but misinformation as far as I'm concerned. a lot of people trying to pin a lot of stuff on somebody because, it's convenient. But
You think you've been set up?
well, I don't think there's any broad scheme, but I think I would have to infer that based on some of the police activity. I think following November of '75, you'd have to say that there was a general design amongst police officers in several jurisdictions to do whatever they could. And I think a statement recently made by a sheriff in Utah County, I believe, he said that he walked out in some of those meetings because it was just clear that they had one thing on their mind, and they were going to do anything to prove it. And I think this trial will show exactly what they've done.
All right, I'm going to play a little bit more of this. I just wanted to give you guys a taste of just some of the conversation. And then what I do want to play, I'm going to play some of his courtroom banter, and then we'll finish the show up with his final interview, just, I guess, hours before he actually was executed. So let's do maybe, I don't know, we're at 13 minutes. We'll do like 5 more minutes of this, and then we're gonna go to the courtroom footage, and you can see his full narcissism on display in that courtroom. So let's go through this, maybe another 5 minutes, and we'll move over. Thank you, Victorine. I appreciate
people
that.
perjured themselves, but I think that'll come out.
Are you angry?
Sure, I get angry. Very, very angry and indignant. I don't like being locked up for something I didn't do, and I don't like my liberty taken away, and I don't like being treated like an animal, and I don't like people walking around and ogling me like I'm some sort of weirdo, because I'm not. I'm perfectly happy with the person I am, and I've always been. There's I don't pay my telephone bills on time, and I don't write my mother as many letters as I should. There are all kinds of things I can improve about myself, but a weirdo knows I feel good about myself. I'm happy with myself.
You don't change. You stay Ted Bundy 24 hours a day.
Well,
and that laugh, that narcissistic laugh, everything that's answered is with that laugh.
Gee, that name sounds funny. I hear Ted Bundy in so many different contexts. I stay me. Okay. I've matured in the past year. Believe me, I've grown in the past year, and I've learned a lot of things about myself in the past year. Being in prison, going through a kind of hell, matures a person, and I think it's done good things for me.
I think he does.
My only misgivings is that I might never be in a position to apply it, on the streets where I'd like to apply it.
He gives long-winded, talking in circle answers. It's like that what do they call that? Circular logic.
Do you ever think when you're in that cell about the possibility that you could one day face a firing squad?
They don't have firing squads in Colorado, and I don't think that in any event that I ever think. I don't think about it, honest to God. And I've been asked that question before, and I'm going to give you a pat answer if you don't mind. Did you fly over here from Utah?
Yes.
Did it worry you all the way over that you might be killed in a plane crash?
No.
Are you thinking about it now, going back? Same
so
here.
It's
I
so
think
creepy.
I stand about as much chance of dying in front of a firing squad or in a gas chamber as you do being killed on a plane flight home. Let's hope you don't. But
so you don't lie awake at night thinking about it?
Not a moment. Honest to God, not a moment.
I don't think he lays a night at a moment at night, thinking about the victims at all. I don't think that's that's probably what he really meant.
Because it's not going to happen. And
Are you going to be a free man? You think that about being a free man?
Sure. Yeah.
And you think when I say there is circumstantial evidence that I'm in left field, there isn't circumstantial evidence?
I know there isn't. You're dealing on the outside, I'm on the inside. Okay. You have access to information, but I'm on the inside. I know what's there and I know what isn't there. I've seen the files and I've heard the reports. And Lord knows I'm the first and foremost person who has the personal and intimate knowledge that it couldn't be me, that it's not me, that I'm innocent. Okay. dealing from that on out.
Whew.
I know exactly what's what, you know. And when you tell me the circumstantial evidence, I'm not going to argue with you, Lucky. It's just, let's just wait and let's just let it come out in court. Let's let it be examined in open court, and I'll lay my money on me.
It's interesting that you say that, Christine, how the dynamic with the woman interview, how he was very soft with her, very not talking as these long-winded answers. And then when they got the male interview in there, he got a little bit more detailed, descriptive, and more, astute about being innocent, that you're going to find out these things. It's a very interesting dynamic how you brought that up. It's a very interesting dynamic.
That's the way I feel.
You think about getting out of here?
Well,
I agree.
Well, legally, sure.
With the rumors that have gone on about you, and you're more aware of them than I am, how have you been treated in prison by other inmates?
Well, I think you
Has it made your life more difficult or more dangerous being in prison?
I think you may be more aware of the rumors than I. For this reason, I have heard a lot of talk, and there might be an inmate X who says, you know, Bundy's this and that kind of person. But you know, when I'm confronted person to person by these people, or by people in general, I have never been accused, I have never been assaulted, I've never been verbally abused. And the reason is because I hold my head high, I believe in myself, and I treat every man with the respect that he deserves. And that's the way you get along in prison. One of the many ways you get along in the joint is that you treat a man with respect, that you don't try to hustle somebody, that you come across straight to them. One of the first things you learn, that if you're a straight con and you keep your mouth shut and you keep tight with good people, you're going to stay out of trouble. That's just, and it doesn't make any difference what you've done.
What happens if you're in prison 5 years and nothing like what has happened in the past happens again?
What do you mean?
I mean, any of the things that you have been accused of, by innuendo, by rumor, by the police departments or whatever. What if there are no killings, there are no kidnappings?
It's already happened, hasn't it? I've heard some reports. I number the incidents between 5 and 8, which are similar to the ones which the police have had the nerve to try to associate with me. It's going to continue to happen in Salt Lake and Utah until those police start to wise up and stop counting the chickens before they hatch. I think it's a terribly dangerous mentality to try to pin something on somebody who they believe there's a possibility it couldn't have done it. And as long as they believe that, they're not going to find the right man. And the man who kidnapped Carol Duranch is going to continue to be free. And not only her, but every other young woman in the Salt Lake Valley is going to be threatened by that person or persons. And it's happening today, and it's going to happen in the future.
What do you think about, in your mind, what do you conjure up about the man that they're after, or the real man who did these things?
Man or men, persons, I don't know. I can't even begin.
Notice how here he's not looking the interviewer in the eye. You know, when he talks about, when the interviewer just asked him, like, what, how do you feel about the men or men still out there? Tell me about that. And see how his head shifted down, his body language tightened up, and he's not even looking him in the eye now.
To understand the mentality. I don't understand.
He's looking down, away, he's deflecting, and we lose the video. Oh, the tape is running out. That's actually what that is. Holy smokes, I just realized that. So they're starting a new tape. And in like one of the best parts too, he's answering.
Okay. Do you ever feel like you'd like to escape?
Twice.
Let me preface any answer to that remark by giving my feeling about jails. Somebody asked me, that question's been asked me before, I mean, would you want to escape? Is there a plan to escape? And if my attorney was here, he'd say, I object, Your Honor. Mr. Bundy is being asked a question and attempt is being made to ask Mr. Bundy to incriminate himself. But let me try to get my way out of that one. The Utah State Prison, as you know, is surrounded by several barbed wire fences and has many, many guards and towers. They've got dogs that run around there, and they've got bars in the cells, and they've got count procedures. And what do you think that's all for? That's to keep the men in there. Now, does anyone think that if they took those fences down and took those dogs away and those guns away, all those guys would stay? Sure they'd go. The very reason for prison, the very assumption of all those bars and all that barbed wire is that if it's not there, those guys are going to leave. And I swear to God, every man in that prison at one time or another thinks about going, wishes he wasn't there, and wishes he could fly over those fences. I've dreamed about flying over those fences. I've dreamed about climbing over those fences and tunneling under those fences. With every other man in there, I've dreamed about being free. Because I don't like my liberty being taken away, and no man does. Some men in the Utah State Prison become institutionalized because they've been so brutalized over the years, they don't want to think about the outside. But most every man, when he first goes in there, dreams and thinks and conjures up all kinds of ideas of freedom. But the real difference, the real measure of a man in prison, as far as escape goes, is the difference between hitting that fence and not hitting that fence, between getting shot at and not getting shot at, and having the guts to do it and not having the guts to do it. You might be able to open those gates at the Utah State Prison, and 80% of the guys wouldn't leave. They'd be afraid to get back out into society. They'd be afraid of being shot or getting another beef put on them, okay? But some would. All I'm saying is, I'm no fool. I don't like being locked up, and I don't think any man does.
You talk about getting out. Do you ever worry about what some of the parents of some of these women who think you are guilty, that they might come after you?
I don't worry about it. There are crazy people anywhere. I've been told that the parents of these girls are fairly decent people. I don't know, and I really feel for them because apparently they suffered an incredible tragedy in their lives. The loss of a loved one is probably the most extreme kind of loss you can suffer.
He stuttered a lot too when he talked about victims. You ever notice that? About loss in victims of what what they would be going through. So let's pull away from this. We'll go into some of the courtroom footage, and we'll see some of that, and we can see the full display of narcissism there too. And those eyes are just, God, look at these eyes. What I wanted to read really quick, though, is you're asking about the attempts, his escape attempts. So let me just read this really quick. Actually, I'll pull up the screen, and we'll read this really quick. Let's see. So we have, actually, this view is going to be a little bit better. So Ted Bundy's first escape, Bundy had already murdered multiple women by the time he's now in famous VW. Beetle was pulled over by the police on 16th of August, 1975 for acting suspiciously in a residential area in the early hours. In Bundy's car, the officer found a crowbar, handcuffs, and ski mask. Gee, sounds a little bit about someone we're talking about. And pantyhose with eye holes cut in it. At first, it assumed that these were items used for burglary. Wow, I actually said that word right. But investigators soon linked Bundy to attempted kidnapping and had occurred most probably. All right, we know this. I want to see. Where is this? Okay, here. On June 7, 1977, taking a break from court during a preliminary hearing, Bundy spotted an open window in the library and decided to act. He was later described. He would later describe the moment during a phone call with prison psychologist Dr. Al Carlisle, saying, "The guard went outside for a smoke. The windows are open and the fresh air is blowing through, and the sky was blue. And I said, I'm ready to go. And I walked to the window and jumped out. Honest to God, I just got sick of being tired of being locked up." Jumping some 30 feet, Bundy hit the ground hard and sprained his ankle. With no plan or no backup or money, Bundy shed a layer of clothing and then limped his way towards the nearby Aspen Mountain. 10 minutes after his escape, authorities caught on and began setting up roadblocks across town and placed all citizens on high alert. Bundy hiked up a mountain and broke into a hunting cabin, stealing supplies, and a rifle, and headed off again. Bundy ended up wandering around the forest for days. After becoming lost and disorientated, he finally trekked down the mountain and returned to Aspen in the hopes of stealing a car. Sleep deprived, in pain from his ankle, Bundy did manage to steal a car, and he drove it erratically that it quickly caught the attention of police officers who pulled him over. Bundy was back in custody after 6 days on the run, although his taste of freedom was short-lived and it wasn't to be his last. All right, let's read the second escape. Ted Bundy's second escape. Bundy was stripped of all previous privileges and is now back in the Garfield County Jail. He wasted little time, though, in planning his next escape, realizing that his last attempt failed through a lack of planning. He began stashing away money, acquiring around $500 in cash over the next 6 months, which he was smuggled in by his later wife, Carol Ann Boone. Bundy also managed to secure a floor plan of the jail and a hacksaw. Excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. From fellow inmates. In his cell was an unsecured grate in the ceiling. Bundy planned to cut a hole around it and squeeze through the tiny 1-foot square gap before making his long way along the crawl space above to the jailer's room. To fit into a tiny hole he was going to cut into the ceiling, Bundy needed to lose weight. By December 30th, Bundy had lost some 2.5 stone and was ready to put his plan in action. With most of the prison staff on Christmas break, Bundy piled books onto his bed and covered them over with blankets to make him look like he was sleeping underneath. He proceeded to make his way up through the grate and crawled towards the nearby jailer's room. Once above, he broke through the ceiling and dropped down. The jailers were out for the evening, so Bundy grabbed some civilian clothes from the jailer's closet, got changed, and then walked out the front door. Bundy was at large again. It would be some 17 hours before anyone realized he was missing. By that time, Bundy had managed to steal a car, catch a flight, and jump on a bus and make his way to Chicago, some 1,100 miles away. 9 days later, Bundy made his way to Tallahassee, Florida, and although the FBI added him to their 10 most wanted fugitive list, he would remain a free man until February of 1978, a month and a half later after escaping. Wow! During On the Run, Bundy would kill again and claims his final known victims in the early hours of January 15th. He broke into a Florida State University sorority house, and we know what happened from there. So I just wanted to read a little bit of that. Wow, it's crazy, 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 crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Okay, let's pull up some of the jail room footage so you can get the full display of his narcissism in court. All right, let me bring this up. Where am I? Did I not do the right one here? I just pulled up the wrong thing. Sorry, guys. I just pulled up the wrong thing. Let's do this. Perfect. This is
there, and there was an officer, another state patrolman. You knew Theodore Robert?
About 14 years.
Directing your attention to August 16th, 1975.
Yeah, I did.
About that day, did you have occasion to know when Theodore Robert Bundy?
Yes, sir.
Did you know him prior to that?
No, sir.
Did you know at that time, and do you know at this time, what his occupation was at that day?
Yes, I did.
What was that?
He was a law student at the University of Utah.
You know what his occupation was in 1974?
I believe it was a law student also.
He's talking about himself in the third person. Yikes.
Well, I have.
Bundy?
Detective Thompson, you say you knew Theodore Robert Bundy on August 16th, 1975?
Around that time, I was acquainted with, yes, sir.
around that time?
Yes.
On that date? You say for
I'm
sure?
not positive on the date.
Can you give us the benefit of your best estimates to when you first?
The first conversation that I had with you was August the 21st, outside the Salt Lake County Jail. That I'm positive.
You ever met me prior to that?
No, sir.
That's all, thank you.
May this officer be excused?
Yes, sir.
I think you free to go.
That's all I have on the motion, Judge.
You have witnesses on the motion?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Harvey would like a couple minutes to confer with me before I take the stand.
We'll take a 5-minute recess, and you may confer with your counsel that will talk to you.
Everybody seated, the judge is out of the courtroom. Will be in one-on-one.
Is Bundy on the stand?
Would you please state your full name for the record?
Theodore Robert Bundy.
Directing your attention to the early morning of August 15th,
Let me just look at this chat really quick. The only thing that's kind of annoying about this is you're going to hear the court reporters very loud. So for me in my ears, it's just like kick, 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 and I did notice this through this entire video. I had no control of that because that's what was in the original video, but thank you. I want to just bring this up really quick. Amber says, I think you are correct on the narcissism coming out in the courtroom, Brian. That's where we see the most of it. Absolutely. And I'm going to play some clips of him actually freaking out in court as well. And I can only imagine, you know, again, we're just paused in those eyes, that the devil that is behind those eyes. You're going to see what probably the women victims experienced when he flipped on a dime. And you're going to see that the anger, the devil come out, and then he controls it and brings it in. It's very scary. Boomer says, with all the research and everything that goes into making these videos, he definitely deserves likes and subs. Thank you so much, Boomer. Hey, you know what? I really enjoy doing this. I really love doing this. I put my heart and soul into my channel. It's very difficult to do a solo show. I am the only person on this panel talking and keeping you all entertained. And I'm amazed tonight that I can keep 37 people right now that are watching entertained. And, you know, the other shows, they get big and they grow. You know, our Sunday night shows are pretty big when we talk Coburger, and you know, I understand that, but we can't do Coburger stuff all the time. There has to be other things that we do. And you know, like I was saying before, I work my full-time job, and I'm not married. I don't have kids, and everything that's, you know, aside from my full-time job, I put into my YouTube channel. That's all I did today, was worked on my YouTube channel and in errands and stuff like that, because today was my day off. But I enjoy doing this, and I want to go full throttle this year and put, you know, everything into it and see how far the channel goes by the end of the year. Someday my dream is to hopefully get this out of my house and into a small studio where I can have a full-fledged video podcast where I can invite guests to come. That is my dream. And expand on other topics, you know, not just fully true crime. To be honest with you, I did a podcast style show before on this channel. It just never really took off. I like interviewing people. I love talking to people. I love entertaining. So, you know, I feel there's a lot of expandability to this channel. It's just going to only be time. You know, it's taken me 3 years just to get to this level. And I've put a lot of hard work into it. And I've changed formats many times, but this is really the niche that I want to be in. You are the people that I want to be surrounded around. And I'm having a lot of fun doing this. And you guys make it all worth it. And I appreciate all the support, and I appreciate all the you know, the likes and the comments on the videos. And sometimes the comments get tough. I realize that not everybody's going to agree with my point of view. And that's something that you have to have in this game, is thick skin. Because if you let it get to you, it'll beat you down. And I just keep saying, you know what? It is what it is now. We're here, but we're gonna move past that, and we're gonna climb mountains and keep climbing those mountains. And anybody can do anything in life. If you dream it, you can do it. If you have the idea, you can do it. It's just putting the drive behind it and making it happen. And you are the only person that's going to make it happen. You are the only person that's going to make it happen. You can do it. If there's something on your mind right now that you want to do, say you want to start your own channel, I just tell everybody, hey, I thought about doing that. I thought about starting a channel. I look at them and just say, post your first video. And then a week later, post another one. And then a week later, post another one. I knew nothing. I'm sorry, I'm kind of breaking the show up, but I just giving you guys a little background. I knew nothing about YouTube. I knew nothing about streaming. I knew nothing about making thumbnails. I knew nothing about composing and doing the graphics on my screen and researching show material and putting shows together. I knew nothing about that. But through trial and error, I've learned so much. I could be a producer. I could be a film editor. I could be, someone that comes up with ideas now. I'm just expanding on that talent. I've always been a creator. I played in many bands throughout my life. I dabbled in graphic art. I love music and painting and being creative. And, everything's kind of digital now. So if I can be here in this digital space and hang out with all of you, I appreciate it. And I appreciate you all being here. 3 nights a week is tough to watch. 3 nights, being here 3 nights a week is tough. 3 nights a week making show material is tough. But my purpose is to serve all of you and entertain you and hope that you all come back. So that's my it's my I don't think rant, but my part of my my mission statement. Let me get to some of these chats. Dina says you're doing great. I appreciate it. Boomer says it's a great show. Thank you. Let's get to 3,000 subscribers before the end of March. I think it's possible. I can give you a total count right now. Hang on. Let's take a look. I am at 2960 as of right now. I only need 40 more. This one is brilliant, Brian. It's a great channel and you are doing an amazing job, and we can only tell you that we love what you do. Thank you. I appreciate that. Teresa says much appreciated. Thank you so much. Christine says I'm blushing. You're worth it, dear man. Thank you, Susan. I appreciate it. You're absolutely correct. It is the old saying, if you build it, they would come. Absolutely. Susan says, God love you. And you as well. Thank you. Stay positive. It will pay off. Yes, hard work does persevere. It does. Christine says, how can you not like this guy? Thank you. This format is awesome. I appreciate it. You're doing a great job. Chosen Rosen says, this is a good man right here. Thank you. I appreciate that. And it says, we want to be here. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. And then Amber says, yeah, believe me. Believe me. And you're the first men on the panel on the Drunk Turkey show. That's why it made me come to your channel, and I love it here. I appreciate all of you. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I see the names. I get connected to the names. I start feeling personal connections when I see the names. I see some names drop out that I haven't seen in a while, and I think about those people. SE has been on my mind. BC has been on my mind. I hope they come back because they were here from like day one, and I miss those guys. I actually have BC's number. I might actually text him. But I hope SC and BC comes back. I haven't seen him here in a while. They've been here from the beginning. Dr. Bob has been here from the beginning. Dr. Bob is here every night. Amber's here all the time. Chosen's here all the time. Susan's here all the time. Seeing these familiar faces, they make me feel good. And I look forward to seeing all of you. Believe me, I do. I look forward to seeing all of you. Yes, Drunk Turkey. I'm going to be on the Drunk Turkey show on Friday night. That's 7:30 Central Time. We're going to go over there and hang out, do some Coburger talk. So hopefully you guys will join us over there. And then, I'll have them hopefully back on my channel. And my plan is I'd love for us to all get together on like a monthly panel where we just do a show a month, either on their channel or my channel. Okay, let's get back to Bundy. That was a nice little break. We'll get back to Bundy and we'll watch him on the stand now.
75, after you'd been stopped by Trooper Hayward, approximately what time of
Can
day?
we establish that it was really the 16th or did that date?
Judge, there's a discrepancy in the report.
Well, it's either the 15th or the 16th. Is there any question about that?
It's not.
All right, as long as we're not hung with one on one day and one on another, that's the only thing the court was worried about. We're talking about one single incident, either August the 15th or August the 16th. Is that correct, gentlemen?
That's correct.
All right, proceed on.
What time?
It was early in the morning, approximately 2 o'clock.
After you had been stopped, did Officer Hayward say anything to you?
Well, after the stop had occurred, I exited my car, and the officer, Hayward, had left his car and approached me, and the first thing he said to me was, "Why didn't you get out of your car and run? I could have taken your head off," or words to that effect. Words to that effect.
Did he ask you for your driver's license and registration?
He did. I think he asked me a number of questions which intervened the request for a driver's license, and I think he asked me after his first comment what I was doing in his neighborhood, to which I did not initially make a response. And then he asked me for my driver's license, which I got from the inside of my car.
Did you produce a driver's license?
Yes.
Did you produce a registration?
Yes.
Did Officer Hayward advise you of your rights at that time?
No.
Could you relate to me the circumstances which took place immediately after you were stopped?
After I gave the officer my driver's license, he went back to his vehicle.
BC is here. Look at this. I'm so glad you're here, man. See, I think about you guys. I think about you. He's just been quiet. He's been quiet. That's good, man. I'm good to see you here.
Leaned in and pulled out
That's awesome.
Microphone that they use for the radios and came back to me and told me to go stand by his car, which was approximately 10 feet in back of my car.
Oh, okay.
He told me to wait there, and there was an officer, another state patrolman, who was already on the scene. And he told me to stay with the officer.
If anybody doesn't know, and I don't think BC will mind, and so BC and SC are related. BC, I believe, is BC is SC's father, from what I understand. Right? That's SC is your daughter, BC. Yeah. Okay.
The officer keep an eye on me.
Jeff, how are you? Good to see you.
Was Officer Hayward in uniform?
Yes, he was.
Was he carrying a weapon?
Yes, he was.
Was the additional officer who come to the scene, was he in uniform?
Yes.
Was he carrying a weapon?
Yes.
How many officers arrived at the scene?
Well, they arrived and they left. I'd say that at any one time.
Trying to read his shirt. I think it says like Seattle Mariner, maybe, or Marine. I can't quite read it.
The most were on the scene at any one time, approximately a half a dozen.
Seattle Spring? No.
All except for Detective Ondrak, who arrived later, who was in plain clothes.
I literally feel like I'm watching a movie. Doesn't it feel like I'm watching a movie?
What was the attitude of the officers towards you?
Well.
Oh, Mariners. Yeah, there you go.
I testified as to Sergeant Hayward's initial reaction. After he told me to stand by his car, he proceeded to my car and he began to walk around it, shining his flashlight through the windows and peering in through the windows. the officer that I was standing with next to the patrol car began asking me questions, asking me what I was doing in the neighborhood, why I was there, so on and so forth.
Did any of the officers read you any rights, advise you the right to remain silent at that time?
No.
Anybody advise you
Yeah.
the right to have an attorney present?
Real quick, I just want to show you guys this real quick. Hang on. And Amber is right. It is a Seattle Mariners t-shirt. You can see the logo there. That's a very vintage 1970s Seattle Mariners t-shirt. Wow, it's crazy. All right, back to this, and then we're going to play a little bit more, and then we'll finish up with his final interview. So we've got about another maybe 30 minutes of the show. We'll do probably another 5 minutes of this, and then I'm going to show some of his courtroom outbursts. And then we'll finish up with his final interview, which I think is a very fitting ending for the show.
All right, and then Officer Hayward looking in the car with a flashlight?
Yes.
Yeah, I know, right?
He walked, as I was standing by the car, watching him and listening to the officer next to me ask me questions. I watched him walk around the car and shine his flashlight in the car.
It's worse when you have headphones on. Click, 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 click.
He apparently was focusing on something inside the car for some time. It would seem like some time. He opened the car door, entered the car, and I couldn't see what he was doing. He came back to me and then repeated his earlier questions about what I was doing in his neighborhood, why I was there. And then, as I recall, he went to make another call on his police radio.
Did Officer Hayward or any other officer at the scene ask you?
All right, I'm going to pause this one, and I'm going to bring up a little bit more of Bundy in his own defense as a lawyer. I believe this is from 1979, and he's actually asking about the details of the murder, and you can see he's actually kind of like getting off on it. So let's play some of this here.
Yeah. And were there officers there in addition to Officer Brandon when you arrived?
No, sir. As I arrived, I parked in the driveway and I observed Officer Brandon jumping the curb and parking on the front lawn. It was almost simultaneous.
We'll get to it.
You were approaching the house as he was entering the house?
We went up the walk, yes, sir, together. He was just exiting his car as I did.
Recall the lighting in the area?
There was a porch light on, and there are some street lights on.
I mean, the level of narcissism here is unbelievable, just oozing.
And who met you at the door?
I don't know the name of the young lady, sir. There were 2, possibly 3 young ladies in the foyer, but I did not get any of the names.
Were you present when either one of the persons who met you at the door gave a description to Officer Brandon?
No, sir, I was not.
You went immediately upstairs?
Yes, sir, immediately upstairs.
He is. Yep.
The first victim
Definitely.
you saw was Kathy Kleiner?
Yes, sir.
Did you speak to her?
No, sir, not directly. She was in shock, or appeared to be in shock, and was incoherent. So talking to her would have been to no avail.
And then you next encountered Karen Chandler?
Yes, sir.
Did you speak to her?
Yes, sir.
Can you recall that conversation?
Not word for word. The gist was that she.
Interesting dynamic too, and I think to the left of him is actually the jury. I think to the left of him is actually the jury.
She did not know what had happened. She knew she was hurt, and she was concerned about Kathy.
You recall her telling you that she remembers the assailant being young?
Objections.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Restate the question.
Yeah, that's the jury to the left.
Whether she remembered being assaulted?
No, sir. I basically just inquired as to her condition and the seriousness of her injuries, how she felt.
Next, you approached room 4, is that correct?
The room, according to my report, I remember to be room 4, yes, sir.
Now, your testimony, the door was closed?
Yes, sir.
How did you enter the room?
I turned the door handle and pushed the door open.
With the same hand, or with you use one hand to
Good
put
point.
on the door handle, the other hand to push on the door? How did you enter?
I turned the door. Turned the door handle with my left hand and pushed it open with my left hand.
Then, to the best of your recollection, almost step by step, if you can, officer, what did you do next?
Step by step, use my right hand to turn on the light, turn partially to my left, observe the young lady lying in the bed. I took 1 or 2 steps toward her.
It's just eerie to me. I know that, it's just bouncing back to Kohberger. I know that Kohberger has been, there's been a lot of similarities to, BTK, but I see a lot of Bundy in Kohberger as well, too. Knowing, Bundy with his law background, you have Kohberger that studied criminal psychology. They went to schools in similar states. Their schools were very similar, close to each other. Out in that area of the West Coast. The last murder that Bundy committed at the sorority house is very eerily similar to the case in Idaho. To me, it's eerie, and it was just even eerie today when I was making that thumbnail. And you can see it. I literally transposed Bundy's face over Kohberger, and it almost completely lined up the eyes. It's just eerie. A lot of eerie similarities, in my opinion.
And that's when I heard his mother behind me.
And I can almost, I almost want to think that if Kohberger was to defend himself, he would be so much like Bundy in the courtroom.
The girl's name, Lisa, and I spoke to her.
All right, now, were you wearing gloves?
No, sir.
Your hands were bare?
Yes, sir.
You called out Lisa Levy's name?
I called Lisa. Yes, sir.
Then what did you do?
Then I approached the bed and shook her and attempted to awaken her.
Amber agrees.
Can you describe what you saw, the bed and Miss Levy at that time?
As I stated, she was lying on her right side, her face turned toward the wall, and I grasped her by the left shoulder when I shook her.
Was she covered or uncovered?
She was covered all completely up to about her ear. Most of her body was covered.
And then what did you do?
When I was unable to awaken her by shaking her, I started to pull over on her back.
True.
You attempted to?
Well, I started the motion, pulling her over on her back.
And then what happened?
I observed a blood spot on the sheet, and I stopped at that point and told the house mother to go get me an ambulance technician.
And did you wait until the EMT, the ambulance technician, arrived?
No, sir. As soon as the house mother stepped away, I rolled her the rest of the way on her back.
And was she still covered?
I pulled the covers back some by then, so she was covered from the waist down.
Did you do anything else in that room before the EMT arrived?
I attempted to find a pulse on the speaker.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Did you
Hey, Aria.
Did you touch anything else in the room prior to the arrival of the EMT besides Miss Levy?
Other than the light switch, no, sir.
This is so crazy and so narcissistic. It's crazy. Oh my God. This is off the wall. We're going to play through a couple more minutes of this. I'm going to show the outburst here in a second, and then we'll finish the show fittingly with the final interview from Bundy. We'll watch the entire final interview. But I just wanted you, and I always default to guys. I'm sorry. I wanted you, ladies and gentlemen, to see kind of how he was in his courtroom proceedings. The level of narcissism is just unbelievable. Aria, I'm doing great. Thanks for stopping by and supporting this evening. I appreciate it. We'll play a couple more minutes of this.
Entered the room?
No, sir, I did not.
Is it male or female?
Yep.
Male.
It seems a lot that the three ladies in the front are really focused on him, turning, looking at him. A lot of the other jury behind those three ladies in the front just dead stare forward.
What was the first thing you did when that technician entered the room?
I advised him that I felt that Miss Levy was injured and needed his care, and that I had been unable to find a pulse beat, and that she was turning cold.
And whose suggestion did you place Miss Levy on the floor?
It was the EMT's idea. Once he said that he felt that he had a heart fibrillation, he wanted to administer CPR. And he needed more support on her back to administer the CPR than the bed would afford.
Best as you recall, how was the act of removing Miss Levy from the bed to the floor accomplished?
He's like reliving all this. Ugh.
Officer Taylor, I believe, took her feet and knees, and the EMT supported her shoulders, and she was lifted and placed on the floor.
On her back or on her front?
On her back.
Then what happened?
Then they started the CPR on her. Officer Taylor had it.
Just going to take this phone call. Let's see. Opinionated Idiot, you're on live on the air. Hello. Try calling back, caller, if this is someone in the room. Wait a second here.
Airbag that he was squeezing for the breathing, and the EMT started the heart massage.
You were just witnessing this procedure?
Yes, sir. I stepped back in order to give them room, and then
It's frightening. All right, let's see if I can get this call to pick up. Opinionated Idiot, you're live on the air. Hello. I don't know what's going on. Hello. I'm going to try doing this. I know who it is. I'm going to try calling them back. Sorry, guys. Hang on. I am going to try to call them.
How about now?
Did you get it?
As bad as that Geico commercial. I promise it's not me.
How are you?
I'm not trying to, what's going on? I'm not trying to hijack it. I just want to give you a tidbit. It's too long to text.
Yeah.
That victim that they talk about, one of Bundy's first, I believe her name's Carol.
Yes.
She got away, right? But nobody ever talks about it. Drives me insane about that lady is, and she went through some heroic escape, like literally jumped in a raging river up the pine trees and whatnot. She got in his car at the bus stop because she vaguely knew him from the school. So when he thought she was dead after he strangled her out, she woke up, escaped, right? But she knew his name, what he drove. Obviously, he went to school there. Andy was in the law school department and didn't tell anybody what happened, not even her own family, because she didn't want to get banished from the church. And then knew as the girls started to go missing over the next several weeks that it was him.
That was him.
And never said anything about it until it was convenient enough to make money on it and write a book about it.
Wow.
Yeah, she knew it was him the whole time. Even when he moved across the country, on down into Gainesville, Florida, and never told anybody because he sexually violated her. Oh, it's kicked on YouTube. So, for some reason, they always bring her up in these interviews like she's some kind of hero. I don't know. It's always bugged me. And another thing, real quick, because I agree with you, Kohberger, it's almost like he was a Bundy in the making, or trying to be. It's the dumb version of him.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Your phone along and doing U-turns, driving by the house dozens of times like a dumb.
Yeah, it's funny because you hear of these serial killers, and you might touch on them and see some documentaries. To be honest with you, I haven't really looked back at Bundy in quite a long time, and doing research for the show today and just reading about him, just those eerie similarities between him and Kohberger is just off the chain. I mean, it's
Gainesville connections are really great.
yeah.
He went down to the college.
Yeah, it's eerie, and it's, and again, I have to say this, look, no one is guilty until they're proven guilt in a court of law. That's what we're saying here. Kohberger gets his due in court. But it's eerie, just reading the parallel similarities between these two. And I just feel that when we start hearing him talk, if he ever takes the stand or does an interview, I think it's going to be very Bundy-esque as well too. The level of narcissism is going to be there as well.
I hope he takes the stand. I hope it's not representing himself. That's going to turn into a circus.
It's going to be a
I
circus.
don't know that they would even televise it if he does that.
I'm almost wondering if they're even going to televise it at all.
I was kind of hoping that you could tell me that.
I don't know. That's the $1 million question right now.
That's probably what's holding you up from going out west to make it seem.
Well, I think it's a little premature to run out there right now, because I think the case is going to get moved, just to make sure that you have an impartial jury. But, heading out for a preliminary hearing would be silly. And every media source out is going to be out there. Everything is booked. The only thing that I could think of to do is to literally go there and just rent a camper, like a drive along camper, and go to like a camping spot and then just drive into town every day if I was going to do it. I've talked to the Drunk Turkeys, those guys over there, and they definitely wanted to take a trip. But I'm going to be honest with you, man, I don't even know if we're going to even get near that place. There's going to be so much media around there for the next how many years this goes, or months. So
yeah, I don't know if you can't even Google Map it, or Google Earth it. So
yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to take up the last year deal.
That's all right.
Say that about that Carol lady. That just drives me nuts. I read about that several years ago. And the fact that she's selling a book about it, like I'm telling you, all the way through until he finally got convicted. And then after he was dead, she came out like, okay.
Oh, all this happened, right?
Church to banish me. Yeah.
Unreal. Hey, man.
Okay, good talking. SC's on vacation in Colorado. She'll be back soon. Be more active, and look forward to seeing the next one.
All right. Thank you for calling in, man. And by the way, if anybody wants to know, this is BC, by the way. He's one of my faithful callers and faithful watchers. All right. We'll see you. All right. Bye. That guy's such a nice guy. Him and I would be like buds if we lived near each other. I can feel it. The energy is there. Very, very, very good dude. All right. So let's do this. We'll do a little bit of small courtroom stuff, and then we're going to finish up with the full final Bundy interview to end the show. I appreciate everybody sticking around. I know it's late, but we're gonna do this. Hang on a second here. This here is a little bit of the Bundy attitude in court.
That's all I have.
We'll take a little recess there. How much more time are we talking about, gentlemen? Let's try to do some organization as far as scheduling is concerned. I'd like to finish these matters tonight and be ready to start opening statements in the morning.
Judge, I've got a real problem with that. We don't even know what evidence is coming in.
You will know before the night's over.
Yes, sir. But I would really appreciate the court to give us the indulgence to let us work on the opening statement until Monday morning.
I think we've had that jury language from there all week, and I don't see any problem with getting open statements behind us in the morning and then begin your evidence. You and I know that the defense probably wants to reserve their opening statement anyway, and if they want to, bless their heart.
Judge, I can tell you right now, we're not going to reserve the opening statement.
All right, then we're going to give it in the morning.
Judge,
we're going to proceed with opening statements in the morning. I just want to find out how much later we're going to go tonight.
Well, Judge, this motion itself, I don't know how long it's going to take. We've got to argue.
We got 12, 13 more hours, and I just witnessed a man talking from 1 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock the next morning. That can't bother anything. So if they're able to do that, I don't see why we're not able to.
Fine, Judge. That's all right.
You just want to go ahead and finish it tonight, and then we don't have to start it at 9 o'clock. At 9:30, we can start here at 10 o'clock in the morning. That's when I've got them scheduled to be here.
Judge, all I can say is that I would really enter an objection to it and request the court that the opening statement is going to be perhaps the most important part of the trial. And we've been working on these motions and have.
And I'm going to instruct them that the opening statement is not evidence, and they're not to consider it as evidence.
That lawyer is done. You see how he walked away?
Whatever the attorneys say is not evidence. That's your most important part of this trial. We've been laboring on for 6 months.
That's going to be the next most important part of the trial we're going to get to.
It better be the next most of it. You would just upset me a little bit if you said that was the most. I don't see any reason we can't proceed with open statements anymore.
Well, I do, Your Honor, because my attorneys are not ready. They are
Bundy here and the
entirely unprepared to start trial tomorrow morning. They have not even begun to put together the opening statement. They have not begun to decide who's going to be doing what in this trial. They are trying to catch up and not getting anywhere.
We started this trial a week ago. That we'll schedule opening statements tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. We'll let the record show your objection, and we'll overrule it. And we're going to proceed at that time. We'll finish these motions tonight. We'll be in recess for 10 minutes.
They'll start it without me, Your Honor.
Everybody be seated.
Mr. Bundy, sit down, please. Court will now be in recess for 10 minutes.
I don't care who he is.
So that was a little bit of a Bundy outburst. I got one more here where he really loses his shit in court. We'll play that, and then we're going to finish up with the final Bundy interview just hours before he was executed.
Leaving the courtroom. No, you're not. I'm leaving my presence.
And this is what I talked about, that moment when the charisma, the cool, the fake suave Bundy just turns in the devil for a moment. And you're going to see the switch here really quick. And then he just reels it back in. It's horrifying. And I can only imagine this is what his victims probably saw.
I'm not going to be in the room that jury walks in. I'm not going through this. And you knew that, Your Honor. Sit down. You know how far you can push me. You know, make a circus. You've got a circus, and you'll have I'll rain on your parade, Jack. You'll see a thunderstorm. This will not be fast, it'll draw you to the rain. Buddy, and sit down. It's not to be a party today. You understand?
There it is there.
And if there's any more delay in this court's proceeding occasioned by your voluntary acts, we're proceeding without you.
Since I have been in Dade County, I've been allowed
Don't shake your finger at me, young man. Don't shake your finger at me, young man.
But Bundy couldn't stop the testimony of 3 co-eds who miraculously survived his brutal fury.
All right. Amber says, you're right. It's very scary how you can shut it and turn it off like that. He's a psychopath. All right, let's play one more, and we're going to finish the final interview here of Bundy. And we'll end the show after this.
You are scheduled to be executed tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. If you don't
Hours
receive
before
another stay, what is going through your mind? What
execution.
thoughts have you had in these last few days?
Well, I won't kid you to say that it's something that I feel that I am in control of, or something that I've come to terms with, because I haven't. It's a moment-by-moment thing. Sometimes I feel very tranquil, and other times I don't feel tranquil at all.
I'm not a
What's going through my
YouTuber either.
mind right now is to use the minutes and
Definitely
hours
not
that
a
I have
YouTuber.
left as fruitfully as possible and see what happens. It helps to live in the moment.
I'm just a schmuck in my house making videos or live streams.
In the essence that we use it productively. So right now I'm feeling calm, and in large part because I'm here with you.
For the record, you are guilty of killing many women and girls.
Yes. Yes, that's true.
Ted, how did it happen? Take me back. What are the antecedents of the behavior that we've seen? So much grief, so much sorrow, so much pain for so many people. Where did it start? How did this moment come about?
That's the question of the hour, and one that not only people much more.
It's funny, in this interview, you had, previous to this, you had the 77 interview where he was calm, cool, collective, suave, charismatic. Now through the courtroom proceedings, we saw the confidence, the narcissism. This here almost looks like he's tired and beat. He's defeated. You can see it. He knows it's coming.
More intelligent than I have been working on for years, but one that I've been working on for years and trying to understand it. Is there enough time to explain it all? I don't know. I think I understand it, though. Understand what happened to me, to the extent that I can see how certain feelings and ideas developed in me to the point where I began to act out.
It was
certain very violent and very
just hours
destructive
before he was killed.
Let's go back then to those roots. First of all, you, as I understand it, were raised in what you consider to have been a healthy home.
Absolutely.
You were not physically abused. You were not sexually abused.
So
you were not emotionally abused.
No way. And that's part of the tragedy of this whole situation, is because I grew up in a wonderful home with 2 dedicated and loving parents, one of 5 brothers and sisters. A home where we as children were the focus of my parents' lives, where we regularly attended church, 2 Christian parents who did not drink, they did not smoke, there was no gambling, there was no physical.
He looks stressed. He looks very old. He looks burnt out.
Abuse or fighting in the home. I'm not saying this was Leave It to Beaver.
It wasn't a perfect.
Well, no, I don't know that such a home exists, but it was a fine, solid Christian home, and nobody, I hope no one will try to take the easy way out and to try to.
If anybody is new just joining the stream, I just saw a couple of people pop in. We're watching the final interview of Ted Bundy just hours or a day before he was executed. This is the final interview.
To blame
Ted Bundy,
or otherwise accuse my family of contributing.
Defeated.
Because I know, and I'm trying to tell you as honestly as I know what happened. And I think this is a message I want to get across. But as a young boy, and I mean a boy of 12, 13, certainly, that I encountered outside the home again, the local grocery store or the local drugstore, the softcore pornography, what people call softcore. But as I think I explained to you last night, Dr. Dobson, in an anecdote, that as young boys do, we explored the back roads and sideways and byways of our neighborhood, and oftentimes people would dump the garbage and whatever they were cleaning out of their house, and from time to time we'd come across pornographic books of a harder nature than more graphic, you might say, more explicit nature than we would encounter, let's say, in your local grocery store. And this also included such things as, let's say, detective magazines.
Yeah, that is something that he did. He blamed all of this on hardcore pornography.
And more
Those that
hardcore
involve
porn.
violence.
Yes, yes, and I and this is something I think I want to emphasize is the most damaging kinds of pornography. And I'm talking from personal experience. Hard, real personal experience. Most damaging kinds of pornography are those that involve violence and sexual violence, because the wedding of those two forces, as I know only too well, brings about behavior that is just too terrible to describe.
Now, walk me through that. What was going on in your mind at that time?
Okay, before we go any further, I think it's important to me, and that people believe what I'm saying, to tell you that I'm not blaming pornography and not saying that it caused me to go
He
out
just
and
did,
do
and now he's
certain
saying he's
things.
not blaming.
And I take full responsibility for whatever I've done and all the things
He's
I've
a
done.
liar.
That's not the question here. The question and the issue is how this kind of literature contributed and helped mold and shape the kinds of violent behavior.
It fueled your fantasies.
Well,
speaking of books, I don't know if you ladies and gentlemen know this, but I was just palling around today. Do you know that they're already writing books about Kohberger? There's books on Amazon already talking about Kohberger. I mean, I don't know how good they are, but I've seen several books up there that people have already written, and they're trying to sell them on Amazon. We haven't even gotten through the trial yet. It'd be interesting. I actually might grab a few of them for show material.
in the beginning, it fuels this kind of thought process. Then at a certain time, it's instrumental in what I would say crystallizing it, making it into something which is almost like a separate entity inside. And at that point, you're at the verge, or I was at the verge of acting out on these kinds of thoughts.
Now, I really want to understand that. You had gone about as far as you could go in your own fantasy life with printed material, and you made or printed and video or film
Hang on, let me show you. See, there's already books up. Already books up. Unbelievable. We haven't even gotten to a trial yet. Unreal. So if you want to search those out, you guys can. I actually might grab one of them for show material to see what the hell they're saying in them.
Magazines, what have you.
And then there was the urge to take that little step or big step over to a physical event.
And it happens. It happened in stages, gradually. It doesn't necessarily, not to me at least, happen overnight. My experience with, I'd say, pornography generally, but with pornography that deals on a violent level with sexuality, is that once you become addicted to it, and I look at this as a kind of addiction, like other kinds of addiction, I would keep looking for more potent, more explicit, more graphic kinds of material. Like an addiction, you keep craving something which is harder, something which gives you a greater sense of excitement, until you reach the point where the pornography only goes so far. You reach that jumping off point where you begin to wonder if maybe actually doing it will give you that which is beyond just reading about it or looking at it.
How long did you stay at that point before you actually assaulted someone?
Well, yeah, you see, that is a very delicate point in my own development. And we're talking about having reached the point or a gray area that surrounded that point over a course
You don't
of
remember
years.
how long that
Well,
was?
I would say a couple of years. And what I was dealing with there were very strong inhibitions against criminal behavior or violent behavior that had been conditioned into me, bred into me in my environment, in my neighborhood, in my church, in my school. Things which said, no, this is wrong. I mean,
zero accountability.
Just even to think of it as wrong, but certainly to do it is wrong. And I'm on that edge, and the last vestiges of restraint, the barriers to actually doing something were being tested constantly and assailed through the kind of fantasy life that was fueled largely by pornography.
Do you remember what pushed you over that edge? Do you remember the decision to go for it? Do you remember where you decided to throw caution to the wind?
Again, when you say pushed, I know what you're saying. I don't want to
Yes,
infer again.
I understand that.
That I was
clear.
some helpless kind of a victim, and yet we're talking about an influence that is the influence of violent types of media and violent pornography, which was an indispensable link in the chain of behavior, the chain of events that led to the behaviors, to the assaults, to the murders, and what have you. It's a very difficult thing to describe. The sensation, of reaching that point where I knew that it was like something had, say, snapped. That I knew that I couldn't control it anymore. That these barriers that I had learned as a child, that had been instilled in me, were not enough to hold me back with respect to seeking out and harming somebody.
Would it be accurate to call that a frenzy, a sexual frenzy?
Well, yes, that's one way to describe it. A compulsion, a building up of this destructive energy.
Wow, that was creepy. The phone rang, and then that pause where he looked up at the phone. Oh, that's so creepy.
Another factor here that I haven't mentioned is the use of alcohol. But I think that
Thank you,
what
Christine.
alcohol did, in conjunction with, let's say, my exposure to pornography, was alcohol reduced.
Speaking of publicly buzzed, if anybody wants to know, on Friday night, I will be over on the Drunk Turkey show with Publicly Buzzed. We're going to be talking Koberger over there. And you guys can go over and join the channel there. I believe it will be at 7:30 Central Time, which will be 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. So come join us, and I'll make sure to put the reminder up on YouTube on my community page for you guys. Aria says, Brian, I really like that you cover other cases. Certain YouTubers are doing nothing but Idaho, and they are scraping the barrel. That's why I love your channel. Yeah, I appreciate that. Like I said, I need to expand, and I understand. I just want to get a programming note in here for everybody. This is a great topic to expunge on right now. I believe that, I understand that Idaho is very hot right now. It's very, very hot. I think Drunk Turkey's do an amazing job with Idaho. I love Daniel's point of views that he does. He's very, very good at investigation. He understands and absorbs all of the material because he's ex-law enforcement and kind of knows what he's looking at. I'm just some schmuck in my bedroom making videos, just giving, I do more water cooler talk. my ideas are going to be more water cooler talk. But what I wanted to let everybody know is Sunday evenings, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's a free form show. So I might talk Idaho. I might talk this, Nashville shooter, whatever. You guys said you wanted on Tuesdays to look back at old serial killers. So we're going to try this material for a little while on Tuesday nights. And then I had an idea. Let's go on Thursday. We'll call it Throwback Thursday, and we'll look at bizarre cases that we all know of. Jodi Arias, Stephen McDaniels, and go back and look at some of that material. Colonel Russell Williams, we're going to do that. The guy that was the military sergeant that was breaking into women's houses and wearing their clothes. And I think he killed 2 or 3 victims in his neighborhood. So we're going to go back and look at stuff like that on Thursdays. So we'll give that a try. We'll give that a try for a while, see how that material works. And if it's not doing it for you guys, then we'll try something else. But you all ultimately dictate of what happens on this channel, because I serve you as my guest and the programming. So if you want something or you have an idea, let me know and we'll try it. But moving on.
My inhibitions at the same time. The fantasy lives that were fueled by pornography eroded them further.
In the early days, you were nearly always about half drunk when you did these things. Is that right?
Yes.
Was that always true?
I would say that was generally the case, almost without exception.
All right, if I can understand it now, there's this battle going on with.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
That you've been taught. There's the right and wrong that you learned as a child, and then there is this unbridled passion fueled.
What I would like to do, and I'll throw this out there, if any of you have a true crime channel, I think it's better to work with each other than against each other. I would love to collaborate with some of you if you're a true crimer, and that's why I've been doing stuff with Drunk Turkey, because I feel like our energy is good. But if anybody wants to collaborate, we can do like a once a month panel. We'll pick a topic. Maybe we can all get on there and talk Idaho and hear all our different points of views. I would love to host that. So if anybody's interested in that, if you're a true crime channel and you want to do something like that, reach out to me. I can be the host. I'm a great host. I know how to run a show. And what we can do is reach out to me via my email, introduce yourself. Maybe we can get Drunk Turkeys together and do that. I know that Subconscious Mouth called in one time. I got shit for that, supposedly, that I didn't let him talk. I let the guy talk for 98% of the time, and people got angry because I was interjecting. I was having banter with him. That's what you do in a conversation. You throw different angles out there. Could it be this? Could it be that? Do you think you're wrong here? That's called creating a show. I can't just let the guy come on and just spout a platform. This is my show. But he's welcome to come back. I've been communicating with him via email. But I want him on a panel. I don't want to have a phone call, because I want to have multiple people on a panel. And I think it would be great for us to all debate our ideas about Idaho. I think it'd be a great show. So if anybody's interested in doing that, if you're a true crime channel, reach out to me and we'll do it. I'll get Drunk Turkey involved. I'm sure Daniel would love to do something like that. Big Blue and Jaime. We'll get them all on the panel and we'll do that. But let's play through the rest of this.
By your plunge into hardcore violent pornography. And those things are at war with each other.
Yes.
And then
I gave Subconscious Mouth a huge platform that night to come on the show. He pumped his channel 8 or 9 times. I didn't have a problem with that. He kept saying my YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, my YouTube channel. I didn't have a problem with that. I think he's a cool guy. His perspectives are great. We have different opinions about Idaho. His channel's solid. He makes great thumbnails. His material is great. He just has a different view and idea of what's going on there than me. That's okay. All of our channels aren't going to be the same. You guys come here for my opinion. You go there for his opinion. You listen to Drunk Turkeys for his opinion. There's no problem with that. We all have, if we all did the same material, if we all had the same idea, it would be boring, right? Am I right?
With the alcohol diminishing the inhibitions, you let go.
Well, yes, and you can summarize it that way, and that's accurate, certainly.
I agree.
And it just occurred to me that some people would
100%.
say that, well, I've seen that stuff and it doesn't do anything to me, and I can understand that.
Well, if they want to do it, I'll host it.
Virtually everyone can be exposed to so-called pornography, and while they're aroused to it to one degree or another, not go out and do anything wrong.
Addictions are like that.
I just
they affect
realized
some
my
people more
hashtag
than
is
they
wrong.
affect others.
Ted
But there
Bundy.
is a percentage of people
Ted
affected
Bundy.
by hardcore pornography in a very violent way, and you're obviously one of them.
That was a major component, and I don't know why I was vulnerable to it. All I know is that it had an impact on me that was just so central to the development of the violent behavior that I engaged in.
Ted, after you committed your first murder, what was the emotional effect on you? What happened in the days after that?
Well, again, please understand that even all these years later, it's very difficult
100%.
to talk about it, and reliving it through talking about it is difficult, to say the least. But I want you to understand what happened. It was like coming out of some kind of horrible trance or dream. I can only liken it to...
This guy is so full of shit, it's not even funny.
After, I don't want to over-dramatize it, but to have been possessed by something so awful and so alien, and then the next morning wake up from it, remember what happened, and realize that basically...
Well, I'm glad you're here. Thank you.
In the eyes of the law, certainly in the eyes of God, you're responsible. To wake up in the morning and realize what I had done, with a clear mind and all my essential moral
100%.
and ethical feelings intact at that moment. Absolutely horrified that I was capable of doing something like that.
You really hadn't known that before?
There is just...
I didn't know that I was capable of doing something like that before. It's so bullshit.
Absolutely no way to describe. First,
I mean, I'll be honest with everybody here. I don't watch any of the other true crime channels, and I've been very vocal about that. And I think a lot of what it is I don't want to listen to their point of view and maybe have some of those thoughts in my mind and bring that into my point of view to cloud my judgment or my opinions of what I'm doing. I watch Drunk Turkey. I support Daniel. I've said that from the beginning. They gave me a little bit of a boost in their platform to allow me to come on their show. And they've come over here and hung out. I will always support those guys. We have a pretty good relationship, but I don't watch anybody else. I have so much things that I need to do here on my channel. So to sit and watch what everybody else is doing, I don't have the time. And I work a full-time job too. So all my extra time goes into what I do here. I don't have time to watch other channels. And I really don't like to do that because I don't want to do other people's material. I feel like sometimes people are taking my ideas. Some things have come up in my algorithm and I'm like, I just talked about that 3 or 4 days ago. And I see other channels in here popping in and seeing what I'm doing. So, but anyway, I digress.
Brutal urge to do that.
All I need to worry about is myself. That's it.
Thing. And then what happens is once it has been more or less satisfied and received, you might say, or spent, that sense, that kind of energy level recedes.
Thank you.
And basically, I became myself
Yeah,
again.
right.
And I want people to understand this too. And I'm not saying this gratuitous.
Amber, it's funny. It's funny that you said that because, you know, there was comments today on some of the DoorDash stuff, and it's like people like, oh, uh, I have a true crime channel, and I said this stuff uh, on my channel 2 weeks ago. I had a video up about it. You know, we've known about DoorDash since the beginning of when the evidence was collected. I mean, we've known about that, but we didn't know about the level of what they were looking into. So I don't know how these people said that I knew about all the detail. You didn't fucking know until the 769 pages of documents came out, and until I started talking about it and Daniel started talking about it. Daniel has his perspective on it. I have mine. But there's people that come in my comments and they're like, I have a true crime channel. And it's almost like I feel like everybody's trying to use everybody's platform now to level up themselves. Like, I have a true crime channel, and I have a true crime channel, and I have a true, like, I just feel like it's a bunch of people that are just trying to like start true crime channels and use the other platforms to bounce off of right now. Wow, I'm being really candid right now. But again, I just worry about what I'm doing. I worry about serving my audience and making sure that I give you guys the best material. But there's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of the stuff going on right now. A lot of it. I have a lot of people hate what I'm doing right now, but I think it's just because the channel is growing.
Because it's important people understand.
And if it's growing, you know, the only way that I look at it is something is growing and it's becoming bigger, then that means that you're being successful and you're heading in the right direction. So let's get back to this. I'm sorry, I'm ranting tonight.
But basically, I was a normal.
Let's go back a little bit.
Over dramatize it, but to have been possessed by something so awful and so alien, and then the next morning wake up from it, remember what happened, and realize that basically, I mean, in the eyes of the law, certainly in the eyes of God, you're responsible. To wake up in the morning and realize what I had done, and with a clear mind and all my essential moral and ethical feelings intact at that moment. Absolutely horrified that I was capable of doing something like that.
You really hadn't known that before?
This guy.
There is just absolutely no way to describe. First, the brutal urge to do that kind of thing, and then what happens is once it has been more or less satisfied and recedes, you might say, or spent, that sense, that kind of energy level recedes, and basically I became myself again. And I want people to understand this too, and I'm not saying this gratuitously because it's important people understand this, that basically I was a normal person. I wasn't some guy hanging out at bars or a bum, or I wasn't a pervert in the sense that, you know, people look at somebody and say, I know there's something wrong with him, and just tell. I mean, I was essentially a normal person. I had good friends. I led a normal life, except for this one small but very potent and very destructive segment of it that I kept very secret and very close to myself and didn't let anybody know about it. And part of the shock and horror from my dear friends and family years ago when I was first arrested was that there was no clue. They looked at me and they looked at the all-American boy. And I mean, I wasn't perfect, but I want to be quite candid with you. I was okay. Okay. I was. The basic humanity and basic spirit that God gave me was intact, but unfortunately it became overwhelmed at times. And I think people need to recognize that it's not some kind of those of us who have been so much influenced by violence in the media in particular, pornographic violence are not some kinds of inherent monsters. We are your sons and we are your husbands. And we grew up in regular families. And pornography can reach out and snatch a kid out of any house today.
I cannot believe that after all this time, he's using pornography. Now, this is like the pornography thing that has put him in this state to, he didn't know before that he was this type of person, that he, this pornography drove this out of him.
Snatched me out of my home. It snatched me out of my home.
Such bullshit.
30 years ago. And as diligent as my parents were.
By the way, man, that's a hell of a boat. That's
and
a
they
nice
were
boat.
diligent in protecting their
I
children.
hope I have a boat like that someday. That's a nice boat.
And as good a Christian home as we had, and we had a wonderful Christian home, there is no protection against the kinds of influences that are loose in a society that tolerates.
You feel this really deeply, don't you?
He's gonna try
Kid
to
outside
look at the fake.
These walls right now.
He's trying to cry now.
There are several hundred reporters that wanted to talk to you.
Yeah.
And you asked me to come here from California because you had something you wanted to say. This hour that we have together is not just an interview with a man who's scheduled to die tomorrow morning. I am here and you're here because of this message that you're talking about right here. You really feel that hardcore pornography and the doorway to it, softcore pornography, is doing untold damage to other people and causing other women to be abused and killed the way you did others.
Listen, I'm no social scientist, and I haven't done a survey. I mean, I don't pretend that I know what John Q. Citizen thinks about this. But I've lived in prison for a long time now. And I've met a lot of men who were motivated to commit violence just like me. And without exception, every one of them was deeply involved in pornography, without question, without exception. Deeply influenced and consumed by an addiction to pornography. There's no question about it. The FBI's own study on serial homicide shows that the most common interest among serial killers is pornography.
This fucking guy.
And it's real. It's true.
Ted, what would your life have been like
without pornography?
Without that influence? You can only speculate.
Yeah. Well, I know it would have been far better, not just for me, and it's, excuse me for being so self-centered here. It would have been a lot better for me and lots of other people. I know that, lots of other innocent people, victims and families. It would have been a lot better. There's no question, but it would have been a fuller life. Certainly a life that would not have involved, I'm absolutely certain, would not have involved this kind of violence that I have committed.
I'm sure, Ted, if I were able to ask you the questions that are being asked out there, one of the most important as you come down to perhaps.
Well, it's funny. True Crime says, exactly, bro. He was smarter than most of the psychologists that analyzed him. The funny thing about it, and I said this earlier, and I think it's hard to gauge. And I said this, I said, ladies, if you didn't know what this guy did, if you don't know what this devil did, and he came up in a bar and sat next to you and just started talking, especially how he looked in the 1977 video, where he was very charismatic, he was very likable, he was playing to all those traits. If he came in and sat down in a bar next to you, would you talk to him? He was very smart in the sense of blending in with social culture and getting a read for people and understanding their body language and their movements and being able to manipulate that. That was his expertise. That's what got him so close and so comfortable to around all these women and being able to get close to them and abducting and eventually killing them. It just allowed him that power.
your final hours. Are you thinking about all those victims out there and their families who are so wounded, years later, their lives have not returned to normal. They will never.
If he wasn't that smart, then why did he get the opportunity to kill 30 people? He's pretty smart. He knew what he was doing. He escaped prison twice.
Carrying that load,
Smart dude.
Is the remorse there?
Again, I know that people will accuse me of being self-serving, but we're
this is
beyond
true.
that now. I mean, I'm just telling you
Very true.
how I feel. But through God's help, I have been able to come to the point where I've, much too late, but better late than never, feel the hurt and the pain that I am responsible for.
This guy's
Yes,
such a
absolutely.
bullshitter.
In the past few days, myself and a number of investigators have been talking about unsolved cases, murders that I was involved in. And it's hard to
Gacy
talk
as
about
well,
all
too.
these years later because it revives in me
Gacy,
all
we're going to
those
be doing
terrible
Gacy
feelings
soon.
and those thoughts that
The
I
clown
have
killer.
steadfastly and diligently dealt with, and I think successfully, with the love of God. And yet it's reopened that, and I felt the pain, and I felt the horror again of all that. And I can only hope that those who I have harmed, those who I've caused so much grief, even if they don't believe my expression of sorrow and remorse, will believe what I'm saying now, that there is loose in their towns and their communities people like me today whose dangerous impulses are being fueled day in and day out by violence in the media in its various forms, particularly sexualized violence. And what scares me, and let's come into the present now, because what I'm talking about happened 30 years ago, that is in my formative stages. And what scares and appalls me, Dr. Dobson, is when I see what's on cable TV, some of the movies, I mean, some of the violence in the movies that come into homes today with stuff that they wouldn't show in X-rated adult theaters 30 years ago. This stuff,
the slasher movies that you're talking about.
That stuff is, I'm telling you, from personal experience, the most, that is graphic violence on screen, particularly as it gets into the home to children who may be unattended or unaware that they may be a Ted Bundy who has that vulnerability.
So just to answer Ducking, she says, hello, as this stream came up on my homepage, is this channel about serial killers or? So what we do here is we talk true crime, past and present, the most kind of what I'm most known for right now, because the case is very hot and there's a lot of YouTubers talking about it, is the Brian Kohberger case, which would be the Idaho 4. My platform here, I do a live show 3 nights a week, Sunday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. My audience and myself came up with Tuesday nights being talking about infamous serial killers. On Thursday nights, we will go back and look at just very bizarre cases, kind of like a throwback Thursday type of platform. And then Sunday nights is my open forum, where mostly lately we've been talking Idaho. All those shows are 3 nights a week at 8:30 p.m. If this is your first time over here on the channel, we would love for you to subscribe, turn on your bell notifications, and turn them all on. Don't personalize it, just keep it all on. So when I go live, you will know. Welcome to the channel. It's good to see you here. Let's finish this up.
To that predisposition to be influenced by that kind of behavior, by that kind of movie, that kind of violence. There are kids sitting out there switching the TV dial around and come upon these movies late at night, or I don't know when they're on, but they're on and any kid can watch them. It's scary when I think what would have happened to me if I had seen. I mean, scary enough. I mean, that I just ran into stuff outside the home, but to know that children are watching that kind of thing today, or can pick up their phone and dial away for it or send away for it.
Can you help me understand this desensitization process that took place? What was going on in your mind?
Well, by desensitization, I describe it in specific terms is that each time I'd harm someone, each time I'd kill someone, there'd be an enormous amount, especially at first, enormous amount of horror, guilt, remorse afterwards. But then that impulse to do it again would come back even stronger. Now, believe me, I didn't. The unique thing about how this worked, Dr. Dobson, is that I still felt in my regular
Right.
life the full range of guilt and remorse about other things, regret.
But you had this compartmentalized.
This compartmentalized, very well focused, very.
Sure thing, Duckin. She says, I just sub. Seems we shared an audience. Thank you for the explanation. I wish I was that well spoken. And thank you so very much, Christine, for watching my videos. I'll go over and check out your channel. Thanks for stopping by. And hope you're enjoying the show so far. We're going to wrap this one up soon.
Sharply focused area where it was like a black hole. It was like a, like a crack, and everything that fell into that crack just disappeared. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. One of the final murders that you committed, of course, was apparently little Kimberly Leach, 12 years of age.
Okay, keep note on this here. I want to watch the body language as well. Let's go back a little bit.
Final murders that you committed, of course, was apparently little Kimberly Leach, 12 years of age. I think the public outcry is greater there because an innocent child was taken from a playground. What did you feel after that? What was there? Were there the normal emotions 3 days later? Where were you, Ted?
I can't really talk about that right now. That's weird.
It's too painful.
I would like to. I'd like to be able to.
The fucking interview. I wish he would stop leading him. He keeps going. Oh, it's just too painful, isn't it? Like, shut up. Let the guy speak. Let's hear it.
To you what that experience is like, but I can't. I won't be able to talk about that.
Okay.
Those eyes.
I can't begin to
Cold-blooded.
understand. Well, I can try, but I'm aware that I can't begin to understand the pain that the parents of these children that I have and these young women that I have harmed feel. And I can't restore really much to them, if anything. I won't pretend to, and I don't even expect them to forgive me, and I'm not
Appreciate
asking
you.
for it.
Thank you so much.
That kind of forgiveness is of God, and
Appreciate
if
you.
they have it, they have it. If they don't, well, maybe they'll find it someday.
Do you deserve the punishment the state has inflicted upon you?
That's a very good question. And I'll answer very, very honestly. I don't want to die. I'm not going to kid you.
Jeff
I'll
been here a
kid you
long
not.
time. I appreciate you, Jeff. I know you've been
deserve
here a long time.
Certainly.
Jeff's actually been probably here the longest. What, 2021? Jeff, you've been here? And I've changed, Jeff knows I've changed formats on this channel many, many times, but this is really, this is really the space I want to be in. But Jeff's been here. Jeff's been here a long time, and he watches every now and then. Great show. I've enjoyed it. Got to run for now, but we'll be back to keep this great work. Take care, everyone. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, buddy. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate you. Thanks for the shout outs. And if you haven't, go over and check out True Crime Cafe with Dago. I'll check his channel out as well. Oh, Christine's going to gift us a sub at the. Oh, great! She's going to gift a membership. We'll do a membership by the end of the night. On let's see. I gotta just before we end this up, we got a couple more minutes left. Actually, let me do this first, and then I'll do my outro.
Extreme punishment society has, and I think society deserves to be protected from me and from others like me. That's for sure. I think what I hope will come of our discussion is I think society deserves to be protected from itself, because as we've been talking, there are forces that.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys want to do something like that, we can do some horror movies. We can talk horror movies. The problem with all of that is you're not allowed to show any of the movie because it will get taken down. But maybe we can do some top 10 lists or something like that. I'll have you guys submit some top 10 lists or something. We can have some fun with that. I've done that before on previous shows. So, whatever you guys want to do. I serve the viewer, so you let me know and then I can make a show around it. It's not a problem. Let's finish this up.
Loose in this country, particularly, again, this kind of violent pornography.
Fucking pornography, huh?
Where, on the one hand, well-meaning, decent people will condemn behavior of a Ted Bundy while they're walking past a magazine rack full of the very kinds of things that send young kids down the road to be Ted Bundys. That's the irony. We're talking here not just about more. What I'm talking about is going beyond retribution, which is what people want with me. Going beyond retribution and punishment, because there is no way in the world.
They will claim it. I've tried to do shows like that before, George. They will claim it and for copyright, and they will strike me. So it's tough. Movies are tough. News footage you can usually get away with because it's been released and was archived and released. But yeah, movies are tough. Movies, music
is going to restore those beautiful children to their parents and correct and soothe the pain. But I'll tell you, there are lots of other kids playing in streets around this country today who are going to be dead tomorrow and the next day and the next day and next month, because other young people are reading the kinds.
So Duckin, I was explaining this before. Yeah, this interview fucking sucks. Yeah. Interviewer, yeah, he's terrible. He's very leading, like most interviewers. Who's a great interviewer, which has one of the greatest podcasts of all time, is Joe Rogan. And you know why Joe Rogan is so successful? And I talk about this at my job all the time, because I talk to my colleagues about my YouTube channel. The best interviewer is an interviewer that knows how to shut the fuck up. You don't ask many questions. You just let the person talk. And that's kind of my style as well, too. If I ever have someone on my show, just let them talk. That's the best interviewer. Going back to Duckin really quick, she says, if I could speak this clearly and comfortable and make eye contact, it wouldn't take me long to put out content. Great job. Thank you so much. Let me give you a tip. I'll give you a little, I'm not a pro, but I'll give you a tip. Practice in the mirror. It works. I did that for years as a little kid. I always emulated voices, and I would hear singers or an actor, and I would sit in the mirror and try to just emulate it. I know it sounds silly and funny, but if you take 5 minutes a day and you do that and you just practice, you can do it. And I was just speaking earlier, a thing about a YouTube channel is post your first video, then post your next video, then post your next video, and you will learn. I knew nothing about YouTube 3 years ago when I started this channel, just a little under 3 years. And now I can conduct live streams, and I have a crowd watching, and I have subscribers, and I have members, and practice. Watch some channels that you admire. Ask questions. If you have any questions, email me, theopinionatedidiot at gmail.com. I'll help you out. I can help you out if you have questions. Just let me know. Shoot me an email. All right, let's finish out Bundy, and then I'm gonna do my outro for you guys. We got like another minute. I'm sorry. I've been
available in the media today.
Ted, as you would imagine, there's tremendous cynicism about you on the outside, and I suppose for good reason. I'm not sure that there's anything that you could say that people would believe. Some people would believe.
Yeah.
And yet, you told me last night, and I have heard this through our mutual friend John Tanner, that you have accepted the forgiveness of Jesus Christ and are a follower and a believer in Him.
Christine, let's finish up. We got another 30 seconds and then we'll do it. And then we're going to do the outro. Of course you can
draw strength from that.
Of course you can. Let's
as
do
you
it.
approach
Let's do it
these
in another
final
30
hours.
seconds.
I do.
Back this up so we can hear it.
That people would believe. Some people would believe.
Yeah.
And yet, you told me last night, and I have heard this through our mutual friend John Tanner, that you have accepted the forgiveness of Jesus Christ and are a follower and a believer in Him. Do you draw strength from that as you approach these final hours?
I do. I can't say that
it's going to be
being
easy.
in the valley of the shadow of death is something that I've become all that accustomed to, and that I'm strong and.
All right, Army, we have a new member. A new member has joined the team. George has gifted a membership as well. Unfortunately, I can't pull the gifted ones up. Let's see. BC gifted a membership, and George was gifted a $2 membership. Thank you so much, BC. And you guys know, like I always do, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
I got you, homie.
Thank you so much for that membership. It supports the channel and everything that I do. That money goes right back into this channel to support it. So, and to create a better experience. So, let's see. Kristen has gifted a membership. I can't pull it up, but Jeff Lane is now a channel member. Thank you so much. And like we always do, we play the tone.
I got you, homie.
You guys are awesome. So giving. This community is so awesome. This is so awesome. Boomer Girl says, thank you so much for an interesting show. I have really enjoyed it. I can't wait until next time. Thank you. Let's finish up with Bundy and then we'll do the outro. We'll get out of here and everybody can go to bed. All right. Hang on.
Nothing's bothering me. Listen, it's no fun. It gets kind of lonely, and yet I have to remind myself that every one of us
Always trying for pity. Gets so lonely.
Will go through this someday in one way or another, and countless millions who have walked this earth before us have. So this is just an experience which we all share.
Yeah.
Right on.
And that's it. That is the final interview with Ted Bundy. So guys, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You guys are all a very, very, very kind community. You know, it's strange. We talk very weird and macabre and creepy. I'll cover that. I will. I promise, Aria. Let me just get to my outro. Aria, you're all in caps. She's screaming at me. We'll do that. You know, we talk macabre, we talk weird. But I always want to make sure that we have respect for the victims, for the families, because we have to think about them. And I know, you know, what we're doing can be very sensitive topic. I understand that. But I treat that here with respect. You know, we don't joke around over here. We don't fly out and hang out with people and gonna buy them dinner and laughing and yucking it up and mock scenarios. We don't do that here. we treat it with respect. I treat you all with respect. I do have a new intro coming. I'll be honest with you, it's not quite how I wanted it to turn out, but it's good. The gentleman that's working on it did a lot of work. I'm hoping that it's going to be ready for Thursday. I wanted a little bit more, but it will get by. And then when I can find someone to really program what I really wanted, we'll do that. But it is very cool. I've seen some of it so far, and I'm happy with it. I think he did a fine job. I can't be mad. But we're going to get ready to wrap this one up. It's 11 o'clock here on the East Coast. I've almost gone 3 hours. You guys have stuck around. It's crazy. You guys will watch me for 3 hours. It's crazy. But look, we have a lot of new members that have joined us today. I appreciate that. We have a lot of new subscribers that have gotten over the last couple of days. I am, we're at 269, 2963 right now. I think by the end of this weekend, we could possibly get to 3,000. And then my goal is 5,000 by June. And by the end of the year, I want 10,000 subscribers here. The only way that I can do this is if you guys come to the live shows, you give me positive feedback on what you want to see on this channel, what topics you want me to cover. Make sure you're checking my community page. Make sure, if you haven't already, join the Facebook group. Make sure when I drop a video, interact with it. Give it a thumbs up. Give it a comment. Watch it for as long as you can. I know that our attention spans are very short nowadays. It's funny. I put an 8-minute video out for only people will only watch 4 minutes. I put a 4-minute video out. People will only watch 2 minutes of it. It's crazy. But this is the best true crime community on YouTube. I don't care if there's 100,000 subscribers here. I don't care. All I care about is seeing all of these channel members in here consistently. And I know the faces and I know people, just like I said tonight. BC, I was like, I hadn't seen BC for a while. I've been thinking about you, dude. I hadn't seen SC. And he was like, I'm still here. And he called me this evening. It was nice to hear his voice. I love all the emails that you guys send me and the interaction with everybody. And I'm starting to learn more about you. You open up to me and you tell me your life stories and you tell me what's going on. And if I can be a little bit of that therapist for you, I don't mind doing that, because this is what makes it worth it. The interaction from all of you. It's great. I wake up and I have emails. Hey, did you check this out? Did you see this? Did you see that article? Or just people telling me, this is the kind of day I'm having. I love it all. By the way, if you haven't seen it already, if anybody wants to send out any mail, I actually set up a P.O. box today. I'm going to drop the P.O. box in there. Anything that you want to send, we can open it live on the show. Here's the P.O. box address if anybody wants to send anything out, or if anybody wants like an autograph or anything like that. I know that might sound a little silly or whatever, but reach out to me via mail. You can mail me there. Opinionated Idiot, Robert Turner Boulevard, Suite 5, number 377 is my P.O. box in North Attleboro, Massachusetts, 02760. You can reach me out there. We will be back on Thursday night. Programming note, it's going to be for our Throwback Thursday evening. We're going to look back at the weird and strange Stephen McDaniels. When I close up the stream, go down there. I need you to click on the link and hit remind me, and that will give you to the next stream. Then Friday night, I will be with Drunk Turkeys on their show at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm sure that Daniel won't mind. I'll probably rip that from his channel and upload it here. So if you guys can't make it there, you can see the replay on my channel. I'm sure you won't have a problem. Programming, I just want to give you guys some programming. So we have Throwback Thursday on this Thursday coming up, 8:30 p.m. On Sunday, we're going to talk Brian Kohberger. Again, there's been some new court documents that have been released that we need to talk about, and some family issues that are going on in the Kohberger family right now. Next Tuesday is going to be Serial Killer Tuesday. We're going to talk John Wayne Gacy. And then for that Thursday, 7/23, we'll be back and we'll be talking Colonel Russell Williams. If you don't know who that is, Google it. Very strange and bizarre. My camera's out of focus here. Just deal with me for a second. That's my postal address. Yes, that is my postal address. If anybody wants to send an email, we can read it on air. Or if you guys want to, I want to eventually try to fill up this wall. I like Misfits stuff. So anything related with the band, the Misfits, I love it. If anybody wants to, so MA is my state, Massachusetts. You spell that like this. Yes, Russell Williams was the underwear model. Yes, very strange and bizarre. But yeah, feel free. Again, I have merchandise if you guys want to support the channel through that. I'll show you my store really quick. And I'm going to probably be working with a different vendor because I'll tell you, I ordered a mug and it took almost 4 weeks to get here. I was kind of pissed off about that. And actually the company, I think that made the mug, actually sent me an extra one. So that's why we did a giveaway. We're going to do another giveaway on Sunday night for the mug. And if anybody wants to support, I have mugs, I have coffee mugs, I have t-shirts, all that stuff. There's my channel and other ways to, yes, Colonel Williams is Canada. Yep, we're going to talk that. We're coming up on 3 hours, long stream. I appreciate everybody hanging out again. I love all of you. When I go off air, I always miss all of you, and I can't wait to get back here on the nights that I stream. So, Massachusetts, where all the Kansas? No, that's Patriots. I actually don't mind the Kansas City Chiefs. I'll be honest with you. The way the Patriots have been playing lately, they play like shit. Can you get merch posted outside of the U.S.? I believe you can. Because it's a global shipping. They take care of everything. I'm kidding, the Patriots. Yeah. So you guys are all the best. I love seeing all you here. You guys have really changed my life over the last couple of months. I was a struggling YouTuber for 3 years, and to jump in and start talking about a passion that I really didn't share with a lot of people until now, and to come here and consistently have you guys in the chat is fantastic. And we've seen shows with just my regulars, and we've seen shows that have been 200 viewers. But I love just seeing all you guys. You guys are all the consistent ones here, and this is what makes the show. So enough of my banter. I want you guys all to get out and get some sleep. Be ready for Thursday night, and then hopefully you guys can join us for Drunk Turkeys on Friday. Good to see you all. Thank you for sticking through this long show, and I will see you guys all next time. I really don't want to go, but I have to go, and you guys have to get some sleep too. So yeah, I love all you guys too. All right, Thursday night, 8:30 p.m. Throwback Thursday, Stephen Daniels. I'll see you guys all then. And by the way, all the new subscribers, thank you so much. All the new channel members, thank you so much. I will see you guys Thursday. Goodbye.